Have you ever actually stopped and wondered who really discovered fire? I mean, think about it for a second. Most of our history books or ancient myths, they just chalk it all up to some grand divine intervention, right? You've got Prometheus stealing fire from the gods, or spirits gifting it to mankind. But what if the truth was, well, a lot less magnificent and a lot more human? What if it was literally just a regular person with totally normal human flaws who stumbled onto the absolute most important scientific discovery in our history? Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a wildly entertaining and, frankly, highly speculative open letter by author David Joseph. It's simply titled Dear God. And in it, he pitches this hilarious alternate history of the very first humans to control fire, who he calls the lovebird fire starters. It's a fascinating thought experiment, honestly. It completely flips our understanding of ancient myths on its head, swapping out all that divine providence for basically a prehistoric grift. Okay, let's dive right into this. Meet our protagonists, the lovebird fire starters. Joseph's piece uses this brilliant, kind of satirical documentary tone to reimagine early humanity. So instead of stoic, heroic figures or glowing mythical beings, he just presents us with everyday cave people. Literally just two prehistoric folks enjoying a hot meal, but harboring a secret that's about to completely alter the course of human evolution. We're essentially looking at history through the lens of human comedy. Joseph poses a really brilliant question early on in his letter. He writes, "Maybe all the crazy stories about gods from nearly every culture on Earth is nothing but human imagination, brought on by boredom." And that quote just beautifully sets up the core premise for us today. What if divine myths weren't handed down from the heavens at all, but were actually rooted in fundamental human flaws? Laziness, boredom, and just an intense, burning desire to avoid doing daily chores. Section 1. The ADHD Fire Scam, a prehistoric grift. So Joseph imagines the scenario where a bored, super unfocused caveman, maybe someone with an ADHD-type brain, is actually the one who accidentally figures out how to make fire. But here's the catch. He kind of hates his tribe, mostly because they constantly call him lazy and single him out. So to punish them, and obviously to get out of his daily labor, he doesn't just share the invention. No, he weaponizes it. He claims it's this exclusive, God-given superpower. It's the ultimate excuse, right? He creates a total monopoly on fire just to make himself completely indispensable and totally untouchable. Section 2. Enter the Cave Girl, a romantic turning point. Now, what's really interesting here is how the introduction of a rival cave girl completely shifts the dynamic of the entire scam. Our lonely fire monopolist ends up falling in love. And because he's in love, well, he does what anyone would do. He totally spills his big secret. He shows her exactly how to make fire. Now, you'd think she might want to share this absolute miracle with everyone, right? Nope. Surprisingly, she is completely on board with the scam. She decides to join him, forging this incredible partnership rooted in fire and, well, mutual grift. Section 3. The Lazy God Routine, an unequal lifestyle. As you can imagine, a massive divide quickly forms in the tribe. On one side, you've got the fire starters. Their entire day consists of waking up, briefly lighting the community fire with a torch, and then just retreating back to their private heated love cave. They spend their days swimming, taking walks in the woods, and just sleeping in the sun like a couple of pampered cats. Then, on the flip side, the rest of the tribe is sleeping outside in the freezing cold, spending their entire day doing grueling labor, hunting, gathering, just trying to survive. It's literally the original brutal class divide. But this leads us to a pretty natural question, doesn't it? Would the tribe eventually question this whole God story when only two people are doing all the relaxing while everyone else is working their asses off? Well, Joseph argues that basic human nature guarantees resentment would build up. The tribe would definitely get suspicious seeing the fire starters only ever making fire in private. They'd start to realize it's all nonsense. So the stage is perfectly set for a prehistoric rebellion. Section 4. The Great Beer Leak, a catastrophic turn. And then, beer. Yes, you heard me right, beer. Joseph hilariously introduces the one modern human weakness that is actually capable of toppling a prehistoric empire. The great secret wasn't tortured out of them. No, it was simply lost to a wild night of heavy drinking. Let's see how this builds, because it's this tragic, hilarious four-step process that dismantles the monopoly. Step 1, another ambitious tribe member actually invents beer. Step 2, she naturally experiences the absolute worst hangover in human history the very next day. Step 3, later that night, she decides to share her new concoction with our lovebird fire starters, getting them completely ridiculously drunk. And finally, step 4, right before passing out, our so-called gods completely spilled the secret of fire. The grand monopoly is broken, not by force, but by a prehistoric frat party.
Section 5. Altruistic Road Trip. A Redemption Arc.
So instead of clinging to their fire monopoly, Joseph likes to believe they actually went on this epic altruistic journey. Let's map this out. On day 1, they are probably just fleeing for their lives from their angry, newly empowered tribe. By year 1, they've spent a whole 12 months figuring out how to safely approach strange tribes without getting killed on sight. Fast forward 10 years, and they are actively traveling around, openly sharing the secret of fire. And within 100 years, this method spreads from tribe to tribe, covering the entire continent. And as Joseph notes, they were likely spreading their unique traits too, like sun-bleached blonde hair and blue eyes, basically changing humanity forever.
But let's be real, this journey wasn't some majestic, divine cruise. Joseph relates the caveman journey to modern times by highlighting the hilarious, agonizing reality of a prehistoric family road trip. He actually asks God directly in his letter, "Have you ever taken a road trip with the kids, God? It's a struggle, especially with horny teenagers." Which is just so funny to think about. Even the great pioneers who brought fire to humanity absolutely could not escape the total nightmare of traveling with kids. To survive this ordeal, Joseph speculates on some incredibly absurd and highly questionable parenting strategies they must have used on the road. To deal with the kids, maybe they just married them off immediately to literally whichever friendly tribe would take them. Or, if that didn't work, maybe they just conveniently forgot their kids in the middle of the night and snuck away so they could keep traveling. He even jokes that, to avoid having any more kids on the road, our brilliant inventors might have actually had to create the first animal intestine condom. I mean, necessity truly is the mother of invention, even back in prehistoric times, right? Section 6. Island Retirement. A peaceful final chapter.
Joseph really reveals himself as a bit of an optimist here. He hopes they somehow managed to spread fire without ever getting killed and eventually finally found a place to just retire. The ultimate plan? Figure out rafting, find a lush tropical island, maybe Easter Island, back when it still actually had a thick forest, and just live out their days in total peace. They don't die as gods or mythical figures. No, they just die as normal, regular humans who managed to do something incredibly altruistic for the world.
So the crucial point we need to ask ourselves is, why does this all matter to us today? Well, towards the end of his letter, Joseph steps back from all the comedy to make this really poignant philosophical realization. He says, we are running out of true stories. He points out that, sure, modern AI can write endless amounts of fiction, but we still desperately crave factual starting points. We want to know our true origins. Because true stories are fascinating, they're alive, and they're instructive. Fiction is, well, predictable. But the raw truth of human history, that's what really grounds us.
Which leaves us with one final, massive question to consider as we wrap up this explainer. If the gods didn't actually hand down our history, and if AI is just constantly blurring the lines of fiction today, how can humanity document our history accurately right now, and for all eternity, without any divine assistance? It's a pretty provocative thought. And honestly, it reminds us that it is entirely up to us to keep the fire of truth burning.